Yo, guess what? The New York Giants did something wild. They shared the secret draft interview videos with Shedeur Sanders. Yup, those videos. The ones everyone said ruined Shedeur's chances in the draft. Everyone was talking about those tapes, saying they made him look bad. Analysts and TV people were picking them apart, even though they never watched them. Those tapes started a huge, messy argument during the whole NFL draft season. Now, they're out for everyone to see, and wow, they're not what people thought. Fans are shocked, media people are freaking out, and Shedeur, he might deserve a huge sorry from everyone this year. If you love juicy stories and all the crazy drama they don't show on TV, hit subscribe. And if you're here to see how this quarterback mess with the Browns unfolds, you gotta subscribe. Let's dive in. Okay, let's go back a bit. Remember all the talk before the draft? Shedeur Sanders from Colorado had an awesome college football season as a quarterback. He completed 74% of his passes, stayed cool under pressure, and was a total leader on the field, even in tough games. He was calm, focused, and like a general in the locker room. But then, some whispers started. The Giants had a meeting with him before the draft, and people said it went really bad. They said he got defensive, didn't like criticism, and even questioned if he'd fit with the team. Colin Cowherd, a big TV guy, said it was one of the worst interviews ever, a huge warning sign. Suddenly, everyone changed their minds about Shedeur. Forget his great stats, his wins, or his strong arm. It was all about his personality, his ego, his attitude. That one interview supposedly made teams think twice, and he dropped from a high draft pick to the 5th round. Boom! That's it. That was the red flag. Not a meltdown, not disrespect. Just a guy being super honest in a world full of fake smiles and boring, rehearsed answers. Now, everyone's watching the tape and rethinking everything. Here's the deal. Shedeur wasn't wrong. Being that honest scares people, especially in the NFL, where it's all about rules and control. Teams want players to be confident, but not too confident. They want swagger, but only if it's quiet. They want rookies to be hungry, but still follow orders. Shedeur didn't play that game. He spoke like he knew his worth, understood the politics, and knew the risk of being real in a world obsessed with looking perfect. And for that, he got slammed. But now the tape's out, and critics are backtracking so fast, it's funny. Even Colin Cowherd, who trashed Shedeur before, is now saying nice things after seeing the Browns' practices and this tape. He's like, he's mature, he's calm, maybe we judged him too fast. You think? This shows how messed up parts of the draft process are. We talk about speed and scores, but what really hurts players are the secret whispers, the stories, the bruised egos behind closed doors. One unnamed executive can start a rumor, and suddenly a player's value drops, not because of talent, but because of how people think about them. That's what happened to Shedeur. He didn't fall because he wasn't good. He fell because someone didn't like his confidence. Someone didn't like that he didn't just agree with everything. Someone decided he didn't fit their system, and they used the media to make that stick. Until now. This leaked tape changes everything. It's not just about Shedeur. It's about every player who's been judged unfairly behind closed doors. It's about needing more openness in a process where huge decisions are. The Giants didn't have to share this tape, but by doing it, they started a big conversation that's way bigger than one quarterback. Let's be real. They probably didn't do it to be fair. Maybe they felt pressure, or maybe people's guesses forced them to act. Maybe they wanted to look better after seeing Shedeur do well in Cleveland. Whatever the reason, the tape's out, and now the NFL has to deal with it. Because if teams can ruin a player's reputation over a misunderstanding, it's time to fix the system. Meanwhile, Shedeur, he's not even worried. He's too busy shining at Browns camp, taking first-team reps and proving what he did in college wasn't a fluke. It was a sneak peek. He's not the loudest guy, but when he talks, people listen. And now with the tape out, everyone's hearing the real story. This wasn't a diva moment, it was a real moment. A rare bit of honesty in a draft world full of fake answer. It's time to stop punishing that. So what's next? Well, Shedeur's stock just shot up. Not in the draft, since he's already picked, but in respect, credibility, and power. If the Browns got a star quarterback in the 5th round because other teams couldn't handle his confidence, that's a huge win for them. Other teams will start questioning their own methods, wondering who else they passed on, and how they judge leadership versus just following orders. For fans, this is a wake-up call. You saw the media storm, the critics piling on, and now you see the truth. It's not just about what's said, it's about who controls the story. This time, Shedeur took the story back. Now that the tape's out and the truth is clear, let's talk about what this means. Not just for Shedeur, but for everyone who's had their name dragged in the draft. For Shedeur to speak so honestly, this wasn't just about a bad interview. It was about people twisting how he was seen. Shedeur didn't yell, storm out, or insult anyone. He just told the truth, gave a real answer, didn't fake it. And what did he get? A huge media attack. Articles, TV segments, hot takes, all saying he had attitude problems, wasn't coachable, or, my favorite, too entitled. As if believing in yourself makes you a problem in the locker room. But the second the world saw his actual words, all that fake drama disappeared. What you saw was a calm, confident, respectful guy, the kind of leader any team would want. Suddenly, the critics who trashed him are trying to change their tune. Oh, maybe he was misunderstood. Maybe he was just honest, and teams weren't ready for it. No, don't act like you didn't try to bury this kid with rumors. This whole thing shows how easily a player's draft value can crash when the wrong story spreads. The NFL draft isn't always about one scout says you rubbed them wrong, and that story spreads. One executive thinks you talk too much, and boom, you've got a label. It doesn't matter how many touchdowns you threw or how much your teammates love you, you're the problem. Shedeur wasn't the first to get labeled like this, and he won't be the last. Think about Lamar Jackson, called too raw. Cam Newton, not a leader. Baker Mayfield, too outspoken. Josh Rosen, too smart. Justin Fields, can't read defenses. The list goes on, and now Shedeur's on it, until he starts smashing every expectation, which he's already doing. Here's what's got everyone shook. If he keeps rising in Cleveland, if he becomes the guy, this leaked tape changes the story forever. It rewrites his first chapter. It says, no, you didn't draft a problem. You drafted a truth teller, a leader. That scares people because it forces accountability, not just from the media, but from scouts, coaches, and GMs who let a top quarterback slip because he didn't say what they wanted. Now that we've seen the tape, we know what really happened. Let's talk about the mental side of this. Shedeur's calmness in that interview wasn't just cool. It was rare. Most players walk into draft interviews like it's the biggest job interview ever, which it kinda is. They say what they're trained to say, smile even if they don't want to, and hide their real personality, boundaries, or goals. But Shedeur, he walked in clear, confident, with boundaries, and said, I'm not gonna lie to you. That kind of mental strength, that's what makes a great quarterback. It's the same toughness you need in a loud stadium, or when you're losing by 14 points in the last quarter, or when you throw a bad pass or get sacked hard, but still keep going. That interview didn't show a flaw. It showed a strength. A young guy who gets the business, knows himself, and doesn't shrink to fit someone else's box. Isn't that what leadership is? But here's the harsh truth. The NFL doesn't always like that. They say they want leaders, but they often want quiet followers. They want quarterbacks who stick to the script, not ones who rewrite it. Shedeur? He's a rewriter, and now the world sees he wasn't being difficult, he was being different. And that difference might be exactly what the Browns need. Let's be real. Shedeur landing in Cleveland might be the best oops in draft history. If he'd gone early to a team obsessed with rules and old ways, maybe he'd be stuck, told to sit, wait, and stay quiet until they say he's ready. But in Cleveland, it's a mess. Expectations are low, and they're desperate. So that's a chance for him. And he's already grabbing it. He's turning heads at practices, leading drills, winning over coaches, and getting everyone's attention. The guy they called too bold in an interview is now holding the Browns' offense together in practice. You gotta love it. And the fans? They're noticing. They're watching this all happen live, and you can feel the vibe changing. Not just excitement, but vindication. Cleveland's seen too many quarterbacks fail, too many busts and broken promises. They're tired of fake, polished letdowns. They want real, and Shedeur, he's real. No filter, no fake act, no forced humility. Just hard work, self-awareness, and belief. If you're a Browns fan, that's what you hold on to. That's the identity you build around. Not another safe pick, but a bold one. So let's zoom out and look at the big picture. The Giants leaked the tape, probably to control the drama, maybe to save face or shift the story back their way. But what they really did was prove Shedeur was right. They showed the world their issue wasn't his character, it was his confidence. They didn't like how clearly he saw the situation, how directly he called it out. And that's their problem. You don't punish honesty and call it immaturity. You don't draft personalities. You draft players. And the Browns might have just gotten the steal of the decade, not because Shedeur's perfect or said all the right things, but because when it mattered, when everyone expected him to crack, he didn't. He stood by what he believed, faced the heat, and came out stronger. That's how leaders are made. So what's next? The tape's out, critics are scrambling, the season's getting closer, and Shedeur Sanders, he's just getting started. Every snap he takes in Cleveland will be watched closely, not just by fans, but by every team that passed on him, every analyst who doubted him, every executive who thought confidence was a bad thing. If he keeps doing what he's doing, he won't just prove people wrong. He'll change how quarterbacks are judged forever. Because Shedeur didn't fit the mold, he broke it. And by doing that, he might have shown a new path for every young player coming up who dares to be honest, stand strong, and bet on themselves. So stick around. This isn't just a comeback story. It's a revolution happening right now. And Shedeur Sanders, he's nowhere near done changing the game. Now that the tapes are out and the truth is clear, there's no hiding it anymore. The world's seen the real story. The idea that Shedeur had attitude problems, crushed. The claim he bombed the Giants interview, proven wrong on video. All that's left now is the aftermath. And trust me, there'll be aftermath. Let's start with the obvious. Every team that passed on him has to deal with that choice now. Every scout, GM, and coach who decided to move on, who trusted rumors over actual stats and leadership, now has to watch him start in Cleveland and maybe shine. Imagine being an executive who crossed him off your list because of that interview. Imagine watching him lead a team that's been desperate for a quarterback for years and prove every lazy story wrong week after week. That's not just a mistake, that's a huge career oops. It's a mark on your reputation forever. This situation is bigger than one player, Vay. It's a wake-up call for how we judge young quarterbacks in the NFL. Now that Shedeur's side is out there, people are rethinking the whole system. If a young black quarterback who's respectful, smart, confident, and honest can still get called a problem just for speaking his mind, then the problem's not him. It's the system. It's the idea that confidence has to be toned down, that honesty is risky, that players should just smile, nod, and blend in even when they're built to stand out. Shedeur wasn't trying to win a popularity contest. He was trying to be real, and that scared people. But now that the real moment is public, people aren't scared anymore. They're inspired. Check out the fan reactions on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. People are like, wait, this was the red flag? Fans are watching the video and seeing leadership, honesty, and strength under pressure. Because here's what doesn't lie: body language, energy, realness. Shedeur didn't try to be flashy in that room. He didn't try to outsmart the panel. He just answered clearly, calmly, without acting fake. He owned that moment, and now that moment's come full circle. He's not just proving he can handle an NFL locker room, he's showing he can lead one. That's a huge difference. And most rookies don't get there until their second or third year, if ever. But Shedeur, he showed it before he was even drafted. And now, with this leaked tape, he's proving it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't attitude, it was a peek at a quarterback who knows his value, his role, and the politics around him. And speaking of politics, let's not avoid it. There's a reason this story stuck so easily. It's because of who Shedeur is and who his dad is. Let's talk about the Deion factor. Being Coach Prime's son is a blessing and a curse. Sure, it gave Shedeur opportunities, but it also made him a target from day one. Every step of his career came with extra baggage, assumptions, judgments. People think he's privileged, that he didn't earn anything, that he's only here because of his dad's name. But they forget or ignore that he crushed it at every level, not just as a quarterback, but as a leader. He didn't just ride his dad's fame. He built his own path, quietly, steadily, under pressure most college quarterbacks can't even imagine. And the NFL? They were ready for that. They saw his last name and assumed flash, swagger, arrogance. What they got was discipline, focus, and a guy who understood the business better than they did. The Giants interview? That was a test, not for Shedeur, but for the system. And the system failed. It took a fifth-round pick for one of the most poised rookies to finally get a shot. And even then, people doubted him until the tape dropped. Now, those doubters are scrambling for a new story. They're acting like they always saw his potential. Or maybe he just needed the right team. No, you didn't believe in him because you couldn't control him. You didn't understand him. And instead of admitting that, you went with the easy story. He's too much. Too much personality, too much confidence, too much truth. But now Shedeur's too big to ignore. In Cleveland, he's becoming exactly what the city didn't know it needed. A new voice, a new face, a quarterback who's not afraid of the spotlight because he's lived in it for years. A player who doesn't just survive the attention, he owns it. Let's be clear, Shedeur won't be perfect. He'll throw bad passes, take sacks, and make rookie mistakes, just like any young quarterback. But here's what's different. He'll grow through it out in the open without being scared. That interview tape, it didn't show a kid crumbling under pressure. It showed how he handles tough stuff. Head up, eyes forward, calm in the storm. And if that's how he handles off-field drama, imagine him in a big game. With 2 minutes left, a chance to win on the line. That's what people are starting to see. The guy they called a diva might be the most composed rookie quarterback out there. While the Giants are left explaining why they passed and other teams make excuses, the Browns are looking like the smartest team around. Not because they saw something nobody else did, but because they ignored the rumors. They didn't buy the hype. They watched the tape, talked to the player, looked at the facts, and walked away with a quarterback. Not just a good thrower, not just a fast athlete, but a quarterback. One who walks in like he belongs, takes the weight of a team and doesn't blink, doesn't fake humility because he's too busy proving it every day. That's rare. That's valuable. And that's what teams missed. So now we watch. We watch as Shedeur steps on the field with something to prove. Not to the fans, not to his teammates, but to the whole system that tried to shrink him to a bad interview and a famous last name. We watch to see how many executives cringe every time he throws a touchdown. How many pundits rewrite their opinions as he racks up wins. How long it takes before people admit they got this whole story wrong. And we remember this moment, the moment the tape dropped, the moment the mask came off the draft process, the moment Shedeur Sanders went from misunderstood prospect to validated leader. This is more than redemption. It's proof that truth still matters, even in a world full of quick sound bites. And for Shedeur, it's just another step forward. No apologies, no takebacks, no limits. Just work, just wins, just the future. Because now, everyone's watching. and the real Shedeur Sanders is just getting started. Tell us in the comments, did the Giants accidentally make Shedeur's draft story even better? Should teams have to share interview videos for fairness? And how do we fix a scouting process that lets rumors beat out reality? If you're here for the real story, not the fake version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next time someone shakes up the NFL, you definitely want to be subscribed.